All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And 20 years won't do an interview. Nobody's ever talked to her. And she's never been interviewed anywhere. And now, understand, I'm not talking about one person. What I just told you applies to 7 people.
Katt Williams just confirmed what a lot of people weren't ready to hear. The Netflix Diddy documentary didn't tell the full story because it couldn't. 7 major names were quietly removed. Not random people, not nobodies. Some of the most powerful celebrities in entertainment. And according to Katt, this was always going to happen. Months before Diddy's downfall became public, Katt went on Club Shay Shay and said something that sounded wild at the time. He said 2024 would be the year all lies get exposed. He didn't say everything would come out, just that the truth would start showing itself. And now, looking at what Netflix left out, it's clear he knew exactly how this would play out. Because here's the part nobody wants to talk about. Exposure has limits. There's a line you're allowed to cross and a line you're not. And when 50 Cent executive produced this documentary, he didn't just decide what stories to tell, he decided which names were too powerful to touch. In this video, we're breaking down the 7 names that were completely scrubbed from the documentary, why they were protected, and how Katt Williams predicted all of this before anyone else saw it coming. Before any arrests, before lawsuits, before Netflix cameras were rolling, Katt Williams was already saying this was coming. And he wasn't saying it like a comedian chasing attention, he was saying it like someone who already knew how the story would end. When Katt went on Club Shay Shay, people laughed, people argued, people called him bitter. But what he was really doing was laying out a pattern. He wasn't naming names yet. He was explaining how the industry works, who gets protected, who gets sacrificed, and why telling the truth always comes with consequences.
2 years won't do an interview. Nobody's ever talked to her, and she's never been interviewed anywhere. And now, understand, I'm not talking about one person. What I just told you applies to 7 people. How they all end up with that. That's part of what you get. I came in this business saying I was going to expose. When I talked about Michael Jackson, when I talked about R. Kelly, they canceled me for these things because why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. And we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And
he didn't say one name, he said 7. He said this applies to 7 people who all ended up in the same position. And he made it clear he's been talking about this for years, long before it was safe, long before people were ready to hear it. He also reminded everyone what happened the last time he spoke up. When he talked about powerful figures in the past, he didn't get praised, he got canceled. Not because he was wrong, but because he broke the code. You don't talk about certain people, especially if they're protected. And that's why this matters. Once the documentary finally dropped, a lot of people focused on what was shown. The footage, the allegations, the chaos, but the real story hiding in what wasn't there. Because for something this big, this explosive, the gaps were impossible to ignore. This wasn't just a random Netflix project. This documentary was executive produced by 50 Cent. And whether people want to admit it or not, 50 doesn't move without thinking 3 steps ahead. He knows the industry. He knows who has lawyers on speed dial. He knows which names bring ratings and which names bring lawsuits. Reports started coming out that Diddy's legal team was furious about the footage included in the film. Cease and desist letters were allegedly sent. Claims were made that certain clips were unauthorized. And even with all that pressure, Netflix still released it. But only to a point. Because here's the truth. They were willing to expose Diddy. They were not willing to expose everyone connected to him. And that's where Katt Williams' warning starts making sense. He said the truth would come out, but he never said the whole truth would be allowed to breathe. The system doesn't work that way. When things get too close to people who control money, distribution, or careers, the brakes get hit immediately. So what happens instead? You remove names, you blur connections, you cut entire segments that could derail the project. This wasn't about protecting one man, it was about protecting the structure. Because once you start pulling on certain threads, the entire industry starts unraveling, and Netflix wasn't about to let that happen on their platform. That's why the most powerful people don't get exposed in documentaries, they get erased from them. The first name that explains why this documentary had limits is Snoop Dogg. And I know how that sounds. Snoop is one of the most loved figures in hip-hop. He's branded as untouchable, untethered, above controversy. But that reputation is exactly why his absence matters. Snoop and Diddy go back way. Same era, same circles, same parties, same industry rooms. For decades, they moved in overlapping spaces: music, business, private events, elite access. If this documentary was truly about exposing everyone connected to Diddy, Snoop's name should have at least come up. But it didn't. Not once. And that wasn't an accident.
Everybody knew that Snoop Dogg, not again, mentioned him in December of 2020, but everybody beat the hell out of me. Screw you, that can't be true. What the hell do I know, right? And then recently, it just came out again that Snoop Dogg got accused of actually trafficking children. And what everybody do, ooh, Snoop Dogg is at the halftime. I'm going to the halftime. But we canceled Dr. Seuss. No way, man. Nope. Super Bowl happens. Dripping down from the letters. FBI. It'll pass. It'll pass right space. Oh no. Tell somebody that plastic straws are coming back and throw a fit. Don't let a convict get arrested. Somebody put a knee on the convict and it's over. Heck about it. Crickets. Crickets. Nothing. Everything's.
Now, to be clear, these are her claims. They are allegations and online statements, not proven facts. But the way the industry reacted to them tells a much bigger story than the claims themselves ever could. She didn't get investigated. She didn't get interviewed. She didn't get platformed. She got mocked. And while her words were being dismissed, Snoop Dogg was performing at the Super Bowl halftime show, one of the most watched events in the world. This is what Katt Williams was talking about when he said certain people are untouchable, because exposing Snoop wouldn't just mean naming another celebrity, it would mean challenging an entire brand that's been carefully protected for decades. Music labels, sponsors, networks, advertisers, all of them are connected. If 50 Cent had included Snoop Dogg in this documentary, it wouldn't have made headlines. It would have killed the documentary entirely. No distribution, no promotion, no Netflix release. So Snoop's name wasn't debated, it was erased. Kevin Hart's name not appearing in the documentary raised eyebrows for a different reason. Unlike some of the others, Kevin has actually spoken about Diddy. He's joked about him, he's referenced the parties, he's even made public comments that, in hindsight, feel a little too honest. But that's the thing about Kevin Hart. He knows how to say something without saying it. Kevin was around during the peak of Diddy's power. He attended the parties, he was inside the circles. He wasn't an outsider looking in, he was there.
Fresh off the guard stage, you know what I'm saying? We on this OMG tour killing it, but had to come show support for Dirty Money. You know, we doing it big. I got my first 12 copies.
Yeah, he's the first one to get copied. I love it, boy.
Yeah, man.
That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up.
Hey, yo, what the?
And, I mean, damn, pause, but like, that's how. I mean, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up early. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world.
Yo, what the did Puff just say? Nobody's gonna acknowledge this for me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes, and we're streaming live. That was stupid. Listen.
Man, don't sit on the bed or nothing. No homo. No, just don't get close to the bed. Don't get close to the bed. But it's just like, yo, we want to thank you for hosting the thing, man. It's been a pleasure. You didn't have to do it, and you did it.
No. I definitely didn't have to do it. I definitely didn't have to. First and foremost, I'm not giving the bed. Shout out to him and what he did. I'm just gonna, if we can, just let's just put the camera a little this way, just so we're not. I don't want my shot to even, I don't want it to come close to the bed.
That clip gets laughed off as comedy, but watch it again and it feels different. Kevin isn't relaxed. He's deflecting. He's creating distance. He's making jokes while clearly trying to control the situation. That's not paranoia, that's awareness. And Kevin didn't stop there. Years later, when the Diddy situation was already bubbling online, Kevin hosted the BET Awards and slipped in comments that sounded like jokes, but landed like warnings.
Also, I'm gonna do my part. I'm shutting down the idea of after parties. No after parties tonight, okay? None. Take your asses home after this. That's why I did it on a Monday. I did it on a Monday. People gotta go to work tomorrow. No after parties. That's where shit gets slippery at them goddamn after parties. Okay? We're learning a lot about people, ain't we? We're learning a lot. Take your asses home.
On the surface, that's Kevin being Kevin, but listen closely. No after parties. That's where things get slippery. We're learning a lot about people. That wasn't random. That was someone who knew exactly what the after parties represented and wanted no part of it anymore. Now, this is where speculation online went further. Orlando Brown has made claims involving Kevin Hart. Those claims are unverified, and they should be treated as allegations, not facts. But the reason they matter isn't whether they're true, it's how fast they get dismissed. Because Kevin Hart isn't just a comedian, he's an industry pillar. Movies, streaming deals, stadium tours, brand partnerships. Dragging Kevin Hart into a documentary like this wouldn't just expose one man, it would shake the entire comedy industry. And 50 Cent knew that. Including Kevin Hart would have turned this documentary into something Netflix couldn't control. Lawyers would flood in, networks would push back. The story would stop being about Diddy and start becoming about everyone. So Kevin didn't get exposed. He got protected. Because some people are too valuable to burn. If Kevin Hart represents someone who talks carefully, then Mace represents something even unsettling, someone who doesn't talk at all. And that's strange, because if there's anyone who should have something to say about Diddy, it's Mace. Mace wasn't on the outside, he wasn't a guest, he wasn't passing through. He was one of Diddy's closest people during the Bad Boy Records era. The music, the business, the parties, the contracts, Mace was there for all of it. If this documentary was about uncovering the truth, Mace's perspective would have been priceless. But instead, silence. Mace spent 10 years trying to get out of his contract with Diddy, 10 years. And when he finally did, something didn't sit right. He didn't come out angry, he didn't tell stories, he barely spoke at all. And when he did speak, it sounded more like relief than freedom. Think about that for a second. A man who worked with Diddy for decades was stunned when Diddy did something positive for him. Mace later admitted it took him 10 years just to get that paperwork. 10 years of silence, 10 years of waiting. And even after finally getting free, he still didn't speak out. That's not normal behavior. That's someone who knows exactly how much power the other person still holds. So why was Mace removed from the documentary? Because including him would raise the question Netflix didn't want asked. Why doesn't Mace talk? Is he scared? Is he protecting someone? Or does someone still have leverage over him? Any of those answers would have pulled the documentary in a direction that couldn't be controlled. Mace knows too much, and his silence says more than any interview ever could. And that's why he wasn't included. Because sometimes the most dangerous voice is the one that refuses to speak.
Now we get to the part of this story where everything becomes a legal nightmare. Because Meek Mill's name didn't disappear from the documentary due to silence or protection, it disappeared because including him would have opened the door to lawsuits that could shut the entire project down. Meek has been around Diddy and the industry elite for years. That part isn't speculation, that's documented. But what pushed his name into uncomfortable territory were the rumors that started circulating online and the way those rumors refused to go away. One of the loudest voices repeating those claims has been Orlando Brown. And yes, Orlando has said a lot of things over the years. Some people dismiss him completely. Others point out that he's been strangely accurate before. Either way, what he said about Meek got people talking.
Meek Mill came out saying that he'll pay somebody $100 grand to investigate that he has nothing to do with anything with Diddy.
You can't take back what your butthole received.
That clip sounds outrageous. And to be clear, those are Orlando Brown's words, not facts, not evidence. But what made the situation worse wasn't just the statement itself, it was what happened next. An audio clip allegedly featuring Meek Mill began circulating online. People claimed the other voice in that audio was P. Diddy. The clip spread fast, and then, just as quickly, it disappeared.
Accounts posting it were taken down. Links went dead. And suddenly, nobody could find it anymore.
Eating milk, running the fuck around, not expensive pain in his ass.
Wait, this is Philly you're talking about now. Wait a minute, Jack.
Fuck me.
Wait a minute.
He's a fucking Fruit Loop. He Diddy fried.
This is Philly.
He's a deep fried, period. He Diddy fried. He Diddy fried. He the Diddy do I bop. Fuck me. Real rap.
You think that audio that they put out was real?
Yeah, that was him. Fucking Nicki put that out to head. That Nicki recorded that at the freak off in the Calabasas. She been waiting to drop that shit with Meek. She just wasn't gonna tell nobody it was Diddy. But now that Diddy out there, why not?
So then who's the guy who's claiming he recorded it?
Oh, somebody that got paid?
Yeah, he said like I was standing
somebody
outside
that
the door.
got paid.
Yeah.
Again, this is her belief. It's speculation. The audio was never officially verified. No forensic confirmation, no legal ruling. And that's exactly why Meek Mill never stood a chance of being included in the documentary. Because the moment Netflix airs something like that, without ironclad proof, the lawsuits start flying. Meek is still active in the industry. He has money, he has attorneys. And unlike some others, he's not someone the system is ready to sacrifice. So, 50 Cent made the business decision. No unverified audio, no speculation that can't be defended in court, no legal landmines. Meek wasn't protected because he was innocent or guilty. He was protected because the risk was too high. And that tells you something important. The documentary wasn't about telling every truth. It was about telling the truths that wouldn't destroy the people releasing it. At this point in the story, it's easy to assume every missing name was protected because of power. But Justin Bieber's absence from the documentary tells a very different story. Justin wasn't removed because he was dangerous to expose. He was removed because exposing him would have crossed a line. Justin was a kid when he entered this industry, a teenager suddenly surrounded by powerful adults, cameras, money, and expectations he didn't understand yet. And there are old clips that people have revisited recently that, in hindsight, feel uncomfortable to watch. There are videos of Diddy openly saying he had custody of Justin for 48 hours. At the time, people brushed it off as awkward humor. When the Netflix documentary started gaining attention, paparazzi pressed Justin about it. And for the first time, Justin reportedly said, "Don't ask me about that man ever. Some things I moved on from for my own peace." What's in that documentary? Let's just say people are finally waking up. I was a kid. I didn't know anything. I don't ever want to talk about that again. That wasn't a celebrity avoiding drama. That was someone protecting themselves. And this is where 50 Cent made a very different decision than he did with the others. Including Justin in the documentary wouldn't have exposed corruption. It would have forced a victim to relive something he's clearly still healing from. That's not journalism, that's exploitation. Justin didn't have power back then. He didn't have a choice, and he didn't understand what he was walking into. Today, Justin is married. He has a family. He's spoken openly about struggling with his mental health and trying to find peace. Dragging him into a documentary like this would have reopened wounds that never fully healed. So, Justin wasn't erased to protect the system, he was left out to protect him. And that distinction matters, because it shows that not everyone missing from the documentary was being shielded for the same reason. Some names were removed to protect power. Others were removed to protect people who never had any. Before Justin Bieber, before anyone else, there was Usher. And that's what makes his story so important. Usher wasn't just another young artist around Diddy. He was the first, the test case, the blueprint. As a teenager, Usher lived with Diddy at what was known as Puff's Flavor Camp. At the time, it was presented as mentorship, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, access to greatness. But years later, Usher himself admitted that what he saw there was something he couldn't unsee. He's never gone into details, and that's not an accident. Usher has hinted over the years that his experiences during that time changed him, that they exposed him to things he wasn't ready for. Usher was the one who later introduced Justin Bieber to Diddy. At the time, Usher likely thought he was doing the right thing, passing along mentorship, opening doors. But knowing what we know now, that decision probably weighs on him more than anyone realizes. So why wasn't Usher included in the Netflix documentary?
Because Usher isn't a perpetrator. He's a survivor of the system Katt Williams warned about. A system that takes young talent, isolates it, controls it, and reshapes it before the artist even understands what's happening. According to people close to the production, any segment involving Usher quickly crossed into territory that was too disturbing to air. Not shocking for clicks, disturbing in a way that raises ethical questions. Questions about consent, about age, about responsibility. Including Usher wouldn't have exposed corruption, it would have reopened trauma. Usher has a legacy, decades of music, a reputation built over a lifetime. He's moved on, or at least tried to. Pulling him back into the story would have forced him to relive something he's clearly worked hard to bury. So, 50 Cent made the same call he did with Justin. The name above Diddy. The name no documentary dares to touch. Every name we've talked about so far exists inside the system, but Clive Davis is the system, and that's why his absence from the documentary matters more than anyone else's. Most people don't know Clive Davis, and that's by design. He's not a rapper, he's not a performer, he doesn't trend on social media. But if you understand the music industry, you understand this one truth. Nothing moves without Clive's approval. Diddy didn't rise on his own. He didn't operate in a vacuum. He was built, guided, and protected. Clive Davis has been in power for over 5 decades. He's shaped careers, ended careers, and decided who gets promoted and who gets buried. Whitney Houston, Alicia Keys, countless others. Diddy was never the top of the pyramid. He was a piece of it. Katt Williams hinted at this when he said Diddy was just a worker. The real question was always, who does the worker answer to? And the answer keeps leading back to Clive. So why wasn't Clive Davis even mentioned? Because the moment you touch Clive, the documentary doesn't exist anymore. No distribution, no promotion, no platform willing to carry it. Clive isn't just connected to artists, he's connected to labels, media companies, streaming platforms, award shows, and executives. The same people who decide what stories get told are the same people who answer his calls. Exposing Clive wouldn't just be controversial, it would be career-ending for everyone involved in the project. This is the part people don't want to accept. Diddy was allowed to fall because the system could survive without him. Clive is protected because the system cannot survive without him. That's how power works. The Netflix documentary didn't fail to expose Clive Davis. It couldn't. And that's the real confirmation of everything Katt Williams said. The truth doesn't come out all at once. It comes in layers, and it always stops right before it reaches the people who built the machine.